Hi, my name is Kudzai Mari. I am a lawyer by profession, and I'm also the founder and director of Lux Linen and Bedroom Boutique. Lux Linen is currently the largest retail linen business in Zimbabwe and Zambia. We have 6 retail stores, 4 in Zimbabwe and 2 in Zambia, Lusaka and Kitwe. My journey began quite far back in 1992 in a small town called Kwekwe, where I was born to 2 civil servants. My mom was a teacher and my dad was a police officer. I did my primary school in Rusape, and then because my dad was a police officer, we were moved to Harare, where I completed my primary education at Blackstone Primary School. From Blackstone Primary School in 2005, I went to do my high school at ZRP High School, boarding school, which was specially created for members of the police force due to the constant relocations and transfers that they were subjected to. So I did my O-levels and my A-levels there, and after that I attained 15 points. I was the highest, and when my A-level results came now, my parents had no idea how they were going to fund my school fees because I had 15 points. And obviously that meant I wanted to study law, and parents are looking at you and thinking, we've got this bright child, but we cannot put her through school. So the High Life Foundation now came in. I got the Econet scholarship, and I vividly remember how it happened. My dad used to read the Sunday Mail, and he came across the advert one Sunday, and he called me and he said, you know what, you could just try your luck and see, if you can get the scholarship. And that's how the journey began. I applied. The next day I went to the High Life Foundation offices in Westgate, and I met this very energetic and intimidating officer whose name was Lawrence Katondo. I gave him my application and he said, just leave it and leave the rest to God. So I left it, and then a couple of months later I was cooking in the kitchen, and I received a call, I remember, and I just started screaming, and my mom could not understand what was happening. So she's actually screaming and shouting, "Iwe Nyarara, what's wrong?" And then I told her, "Mom, I got the scholarship." And we just sat on the floor crying and praying to God, because this is a moment we've been praying for. This is God showing us that He's been listening to our prayers, and He's giving me an opportunity to further my studies and have this impact in my life. So I went on to study law at the University of Zimbabwe because of High Life Foundation. The scholarship had such an impact on my education. I was able to get a law degree. And not only that, I was involved in so many community outreach programs. During my studies at the University of Zimbabwe, we would go to remote primary schools where we would share our stories, motivate younger students who also were facing hardships, and to remind them that if I could do it, you can also do it. So that was the first step in giving back, by sharing a story, by motivating someone, which I think is a very important aspect of High Life Foundation and the whole Econet group, is giving back and being able to impact another person's life. We did those community outreach programs for a while, right until I finished university, but the giving back did not stop there. It was a very deliberate, intentional value that was now ingrained in how I conducted myself and how I then carried on my life. So how does it feel to be featured in the new book, And Still We Rise, to be launched soon? I would say the feature has been really humbling and deeply much of an honor to me. Because when I look at myself, I look at this young girl, this small girl in a big pond of bigger people doing greater things. But the fact that I've been picked to tell my story and share my journey is truly humbling and truly honoring, because it means my story is worth inspiring someone, with motivating someone who probably has started this journey or is still going through their journey and has still a lot to learn. So I would say it's a very pivotal moment in my life, and something I never saw coming. And I would say it's also important in the whole context of leadership that Econet and High Life are consistently pursuing and trying to inculcate in all of us. Women's Month means two, maybe three things. The first is impact. What impact am I making, are you making in another woman's life? When I look at myself and my journey, I have been given this opportunity, by High Life Foundation, by Econet. But as a woman, I've taken it a step further. I currently have 18 employees in my business. I have been very deliberate about the employees I hire. I employ 90% of women in my business, which is retail. And why I do that, I've come across so much hardship, so many stories of single mothers, young girls who need an opportunity to break through to their next stage. So I've been very deliberate in making sure I only employ women. And that's my impact in other people's lives. I train, I ensure I instill values of excellence in the women I employ. And I'm very proud to say these women have gone on to start their own businesses. Some have gone on to work for international brands like Qatar. And when I look at their journey from when they started and where they are now, I feel proud. And that is the impact that we should have as women. The second thing I would say, why this Women's Month is really important, is being featured in this new book has been a reflective milestone for me. I have looked at my journey, where I started from just a university student to this woman who owns several businesses, but most importantly, a mom as well. So the recognition has allowed me to reflect on the many tasks, the different roles I juggle, which is just a small little thing, because I believe there are many people, many women out there who are juggling even bigger roles. And I think that recognition is important. The ability to recognize other women, fix another woman's crown, recognize what they're doing, lift them up, and give them the opportunity to share their story, inspire others, motivate others, to remember that you're not alone. You're a mom, you're doing all this, and you're worthy, and you're doing well, and keep on going, which is really important. So what's my advice this Women's Month to other women or to young girls? I would say my advice is twofold. The first being, business is not easy, especially in Zimbabwe. Growing this business from the boot of my car, because we literally started Lux Linen selling sheets in my car, in my boot, whilst I was at work, has not been easy. Growing the business to 6 retail stores, 4 in Zimbabwe and 2 in Zambia, meant we had to make certain sacrifices, and the biggest problem was funding. We persevered, we were so resilient, we kept knocking on doors, and there was a long period when things were hard, but we had to manage supply relations, we needed to perfect our cash flows, we needed to find processes that work best for retail, and I'm happy to say we found that, we learned that, we pushed on, and this is where we are. So if you're struggling, if you're in a moment when things are not making sense, remember, it's been the journey of every entrepreneur out there. It's not easy. You're not alone. Lean on other women, share your story with other women. You'll find that you're actually not alone. And there are so many people out there who can share their experiences and support you in your journey. As we celebrate 30 years of High Life Foundation, and as we celebrate Women's Month this March, my last words are, I stand, we shine.